Hope everyone's doing all right today. Here in real time, it's a big snowstorm across the United States. It's snowing really hard here. My wife and I were out early this morning, um, and we were stranded at a hotel. Our car wouldn't start, and it was pretty stressful. Just the battery was dead, but luckily the hotel had one of those jumper things, and it took me a while to figure out how it worked, but I'm so thankful. We made it home. We got a new battery. So anyway, this is a 1967 RCA I believe it's an RGM or RHM. Yeah, there's the model numbers according to the color. 19. So I think this would be an E or a G. Yeah, I guess this would be a G. I think that looks more olive, doesn't it? I don't know. Color is not my strong suit. This is the first transistor radio that I attempted to repair, and it's been a long time since I got this. But what basically happened was I've been interested in these transistor radios since I was pretty young, since I was a teenager, and I had one when I was a little kid, actually, but I don't really remember it too well. I think my parents got tired of buying batteries, and they gave me their old alarm clock radio. And my dream is to actually build my own 6 transistor radio one day, and build it in kind of like a way that's like repeatable, that other people can build. That's my ultimate dream, but just fixing them is a lot of fun. I've been learning a lot. And when I got the notion that I would try to repair them, I started watching YouTube videos on repairing them and things like that. And I kind of wanted to share this, even though it was a kind of a failure, not necessarily on my part. There's something here that just probably just isn't repairable, but I just wanted to help other people in case they're getting into this, so that they kind of know what to look for or what to watch out for, so that you don't make the mistakes that I made. So I wanted something that was going to be useful, and I wanted something that was American made. And so I started looking around on eBay, and I also wanted something with service data. And I found this RCA, and it was, compared to what I paid for pretty much all the other radios, this one was expensive. I think it was $25 is what I paid on eBay, and it was untested. And so that was probably my first mistake. I think if you're just getting into this, I think the less you can pay, the better, because there's a chance that you might screw it up. And if you only pay $5 or $10 or less, like, it's not a big deal. But 25, I mean, that hurts a little more. It's not. I mean, I probably got $25 worth of learning out of it, but I bought the SAMs for it. Had never bought any of the SAMs online, so didn't know that I wasn't going to get the entire book. You just get the one for a specific model, so it's really expensive. It's like $20, but the service data was amazing. Very good schematic. It shows you how the dial cord goes. It shows you like all the locations of all the components and the models of all the transistors, the tolerances of the resistors, and just everything. I mean, it's very, very good service data. To me, it seems expensive. So I think in the future I might just buy some of the paperbacks, and I can always scan them or something if I wanted to have a digital copy for myself. But so I think looking for one with a schematic, it is a good idea, but you don't have to spend $25. And there's some of them that will come with schematics on the inside. Quite a few do, actually. I would say maybe like a fourth or a fifth of them will have a schematic on the inside. or you can find it online. And if you can't find a schematic, I mean, I think starting out having a schematic, even I'm still new at this too, but having a schematic is very helpful. I mean, it's going to make a big difference to me of whether I stand a chance of being able to repair it or not. If it's just going to be one of those where you get, change capacitors and it probably will work, then the schematic might not be, you might not need it quite as much. So I definitely would suggest, if you can get a schematic, that's great, but don't pay a bunch of money just to find one that you can get service data on. And then so here's one of the really big problems with this one. And we'll just get in there where you can really look at that, and let's get something for like a size comparison here. This thing is very hard to work on. I have never seen another one that's as hard to work on as this. I couldn't have picked a worse model because it has FM, and I think it may have a separate local oscillator. I don't remember, but it definitely has an RF preamp, at least on the FM side, maybe on the AM side. And you can see this thing, it is jam-packed with components. And this whole thing up here, I don't even really know how to take that off, but it is super in the way of getting to a lot of stuff. And you can see even on the back, like they have capacitors and resistors just tacked on the back of it. I mean, it's just nuts. There's jumper wires everywhere. The traces, there's so many different traces and they're so close to each other. I mean, it's just this thing is a freaking monster nightmare to work on. Even the IF cans seem to be smaller than normal. And then, so as I was working on it, the main problem is that the tuning capacitor seems to be bad. I could be wrong, but it really seems like something's wrong with it because it's hard to turn and then it gets easy to turn. And the kind of the one station that it would sort of pick up was strongest one in the area. It would sort of drift around. I mean, just you would spin away from it like a quarter of a turn and then try to go back to it and it wouldn't be there. And you'd have to spin it a whole bunch. So it's like the capacitance isn't stable from when you turn it. It's like it just changes constantly and I can't make any sense out of it, but something mechanically seems to be wrong with it because it gets really hard to turn and then it gets like really easy to turn. And that's why the dial cord broke on it. And that's another thing. So the ones that have the dial cord in let me show you. So one thing that's nice to do is kind of get you an Altoid tin, put your stuff in. So it has this dial cord with an indicator that slides back and forth. And these dial cords are they're harder to work on because it's not just a straight circle. But the service data shows how the dial cord goes. So then I could probably get it back, but it would be so hard. So I don't like ones with dial cords. I don't think anyone would, honestly, after working on a couple of them. They're a real pain to deal with. So it might be one of those things like, I mean, if you can find one cheap and it's got a dial cord, like who cares? I'd still do it. But if you could find the kind that don't have dial cords or that just have I guess you'd call it the flywheel and the pull. I don't remember what the technical term for those are, but it just has two wheels. When they're a lot simpler than these, I would go after those. But most of the cheaper ones, they don't even have a dial cord, and I'm completely fine with no dial cord. That just makes life that much easier. The tuning when you have a dial cord is nice because you get that nice gear ratio, so it can make fine tuning a little bit easier. But I mean, other than that, there's absolutely no benefit. They just make things exceedingly difficult. And yeah, so even though I know the tuning capacitor's messed up, the reception, something's going on there, and I think it's in the RF preamp, but I couldn't really ever say that for sure. So I was trying to change these capacitors, and it's got these axial capacitors, and they're just hanging off the side of the radio here. I mean, there's just no room, and there's some of them are so far away from the board that I looked at replacing them with radials because I have those, and then but the leads wouldn't even be long enough. I'd have to solder extra lead on the end. So, and maybe I'll order some axials one day and actually replace these. I think I replaced some of the capacitors in this. I don't see any right offhand. Well, I know I replaced a couple of resistors, and I thought I replaced some capacitors, but I don't see where I actually replaced one, but I'm pretty sure I did. And it'd be hard to see in all this mess. Yeah, it definitely turned into be kind of more of a nightmare. And that was just, if I had known what I was doing more, I mean, definitely I wouldn't have paid $25 for something that says it's untested. I mean, maybe the radio's worth $25. There's people that have more experience than me that could probably get this thing to work no problem. And I mean, I'm maybe one day I'll come back to it. I keep thinking next time I order some parts, I'll get some of these axial capacitors and maybe, like I said, actually change them and see if it wakes the radio up. But because I mean, it has a lot of electrolytics. It has quite a number of filter capacitors and stabilizing capacitors. I mean, RCA was not messing around when they built it. I think when this thing was working, I think it was probably a darn good performer. And it may even have 3 IFs too. I think it does actually, but it's only got 8 transistors. But I know the AM and FM share. I can't remember. It's like the first. I think the second stage of the FM is the first stage of the AM. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, this is definitely something to watch out for. Just be careful what you buy, unless it's cheap. If it's cheap, go gangbusters. You can't go wrong, right? $5, $6, $8 on eBay or wherever you pick these up at, you're not going to go wrong. You'll get that much value in just what you learn, but don't pay a bunch of money and then end up with something that's just an absolute nightmare, especially if you're new at this. Because I would say this is definitely when you compare this to the inside of, especially the Hong Kong ones that only have 1 IF, this thing has got a monstrous amount of components in it, which just exponentially increases the number of things that could go wrong. And then, like I said, all these jumper wires and stuff, you don't even see that really on most. You might see a one here and there or 2 on some of the Hong Kong stuff, but this thing's loaded with them. But this, I believe, again, this was 1967, and it is made in America, I believe. So we could double check. Does it say? It says Radio Corporation of America. Pretty sure it's made in America. What does that say? Sorry, it's hard to see through the camera. No. Oh, Japan. Is that what that says? Okay, so maybe not American made, but Japanese is still, usually really good quality. But here, I thought it would be cool to show you this. So here's the original ad for it. I believe it's the exact same radio. It does have an aerial. Well, you can see here. There's the antenna. And yeah, 1995. And I looked it up, and that would be about $200 today. So definitely a pretty good chunk of change. Not exuberantly expensive, but definitely a good chunk of change. probably not something that if you were making minimum wage you would be able to afford easily. I know today, I mean, you can actually get the working AM FM digitally tuned portable radio for less than that now, although not a whole lot less, because I imagine they're not cheaper because there's not much market for them. Really, people don't really care for these anymore. I think they really. I mean, when the iPods came around, these things, man, they're popular. And I don't just mean transistorized ones, but the ones with the ICs, man, they just vanished almost immediately. To the point where I don't even know if you can get them at like your box stores anymore. But I think it's a cool radio. It's cool. Definitely got a cool factor. The case is in good shape. It smells like Lucky Strikes. Very strong odor. It took me a while to figure out what that smell was. Kept thinking that it was cigarette smoke, but I thought, nah, it doesn't really smell like. But it's something I've smelt before, and it took me a while for that, like those memory cells to click in my brain. I was like, oh, that's Lucky Strikes. I've smelt that before. But well, anyway, hopefully this will help, and hopefully this is you just enjoyed seeing the radio a little bit. Just be careful what you buy, especially if you're new. Just stay away from the more expensive stuff. Buy the cheap stuff, and be patient. If you don't see good deals, if you're looking online, just wait a week or two. They will come around. I just did a video on a lot of radios that I got off of eBay, and I think with shipping and handling, I paid $27. There was 5 radios in there. 4 of them are said to be working. I don't, you take that with a grain of sand, but one of them is a Panasonic. So I've seen other RCAs on eBay all the time for $10 or $15 being sold by themselves. So you can do better than I did. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next one.